I'm sitting here, trying to find the right words, but it's hard to explain everything that happened. It feels like I'm stuck in this whirlwind, and now, looking back, it all seems so surreal. I know this is going to be hard to understand, but I need to share it. Not because I want sympathy or anything like that, but because I've been living with this secret for so long, and I don't know where else to turn. It all started 3 years ago, maybe even more, when my life took a turn I wasn't expecting. My marriage was solid, or so I thought. I loved John, my husband, the father of my kids. We had been together for 5 years, and I thought we were doing fine. He was a good guy, hard-working, stable, and yes, a little predictable. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't exactly excited either. I never intended for it to happen, but life just shifted. It wasn't that John wasn't enough. He was, in his own way. It's just that I felt like something was missing. I was restless. I'd look at myself in the mirror sometimes and wonder if I was really living the life I'd always imagined. And then I met him. His name was Mark. He wasn't what I would call my type, but he had something I hadn't realized I was craving. Excitement. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. We met at a work event, just a casual encounter at first. We talked a little, exchanged some polite words, but it wasn't anything serious. At least, not for me. But Mark, he kept reaching out. He was persistent, in that way that makes you question everything. He was different from John, not in a bad way, just different. He had this way of making me feel like I was the only one who mattered. And, God, did that feel good. I felt wanted in a way I hadn't in a long time. At first, I thought it was just harmless flirting, but after a couple of weeks, things changed. He started sending me texts late at night, checking in on me, telling me how much he liked the way I looked. And before I knew it, I was making excuses to spend time with him. I'd tell John I had a late meeting, or I needed some me time, and honestly, I thought I was doing okay. I wasn't cheating, not yet. But those little moments, those stolen glances, they kept building up. Then one night it happened. I can't even remember the exact moment. It was like I was on autopilot. One drink led to another, one kiss led to more, and we ended up at his place. I remember feeling a rush, like I had finally found something that made me feel alive again. Something that made me feel desired. Something that wasn't just about taking care of the kids, making dinner, or the daily grind of life with John. Mark didn't make me feel like just a wife or a mother. He made me feel like me. A woman with wants and needs. I felt guilty as hell, but at the same time, I didn't want to stop. And I didn't stop. It went on for months. Mark and I were together secretly, behind John's back. Every time we were together, it felt like a world away from the life I had with John. It felt like a different person entirely, someone I could pretend was more spontaneous, more carefree. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong because, in my mind, I was still taking care of John. I was still being the good wife, the good mother. I wasn't letting it affect my home life, or so I thought. And maybe that's the hardest part of all of this. I convinced myself it was fine. I justified everything. One night, when Mark and I were having dinner at his place, he said something that stuck with me. "I don't want to be just a side thing for you," he said, staring at me across the table. I laughed it off, trying to make light of the situation. "You're not a side thing, Mark. I need a little bit of escape. That's all." But deep down, I knew that was a lie. I was starting to care about him more than I should. And it scared me. Because every time I looked at John, I saw someone who trusted me, who relied on me. And every time I looked at Mark, I saw someone who wanted all of me. Someone who wasn't asking for my loyalty, but somehow, I was giving it to him anyway. I wasn't just slipping away from my marriage, I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. And still, I kept going back. I kept telling myself it wasn't that bad. I told myself it was just a temporary thing, just a phase. But deep inside, I knew it was something deeper. And that's when I started questioning everything: who I was, what I wanted, and if I could keep up the lie. I know what you're probably thinking. Why didn't you just end it with John if you wanted something with Mark? I don't know. Honestly, I don't have a good answer. I didn't want to hurt John. I didn't want to break up my family. But, at the same time, I didn't want to lose what I had with Mark. The way he made me feel was something I couldn't just ignore. I felt like I was being torn apart, but I kept going, convincing myself that it was all just temporary, that I could balance it all somehow. Now, looking back, I see just how much I was fooling myself. But in those months, I didn't see it that way. I thought I could have the best of both worlds. I thought I could be the wife at home and the lover in secret. I thought I could have it all without anyone finding out. But of course, that's not how life works, is it? It's strange how life has a way of shifting when you least expect it. One day, everything feels like it's in control, and the next, it all comes crashing down. I'd been living this double life for months, and at first, I was convinced I could keep it up forever. But even the best lies have a way of unraveling. I never meant for it to happen the way it did. If I'm being honest, I didn't expect John to find out at all. I thought I had it all figured out. How to balance my secret life with Mark and my family with John. But when it all exploded, it felt like everything I had worked so hard to protect came crumbling down. I remember the night it happened. It was a Friday, and John and I had just come home from a rare night out. We hadn't done anything special, just dinner at a local restaurant. But it was one of those nights where everything felt normal. Or at least, that's what I thought. We had a few drinks, talked about the kids, and joked around like we always did. The night ended as it always did, with him falling asleep on the couch and me heading upstairs to our bedroom. But I didn't realize something was off until I walked into the room. John was sitting up in bed, staring at me with this look I hadn't seen before. Like he was waiting for something. His usual warm, welcoming gaze had turned into something more intense. For a moment I froze. My heart dropped into my stomach. "Where have you been, Claire?" he asked, his voice low, but not angry, more like he was trying to keep his cool. I tried to play it off, like everything was fine. "What do you mean?" "I was with you all evening." His eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me. I know something's been going on. You've been distant for weeks, and I can tell it's not just work. I've been tracking your phone, Claire, and I know where you've been." My blood ran cold. I couldn't believe it. How did he find out? I didn't even know how to respond. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to say, but nothing came out. I wanted to deny it, but deep down, I knew it was over. He had already seen the proof. "John, listen." I started, but he cut me off, holding up his hand. "No. I don't want to hear your excuses right now. You've been seeing him, haven't you?" His voice was steady now, like he was speaking to me with a kind of cold resignation. I saw it in his eyes, the hurt, the betrayal, and it shattered me. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to catch my breath, feeling like the room was spinning. "I never meant for this to happen. I swear, it's not like you think." He gave me this look, half disbelief, half anger. "Really? You think I don't know what's been going on? How long, Claire? How long have you been lying to me?" Tears welled up in my eyes, but I wasn't sure if it was from guilt or from the fact that everything I'd been hiding was now out in the open. "It started a while ago," I whispered. "I never meant to hurt you, John. I didn't want it to get this far." He looked at me for a long time, his jaw clenched. I could see the wheels turning in his mind, trying to process everything, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear his response. Part of me was praying that he'd understand, but the other part knew it was over. "Tell me you're not sleeping with him," John said finally, his voice shaking. I couldn't lie to him anymore. I couldn't keep pretending like nothing had happened. "I have," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "But it was never supposed to go this far. It just happened." John's face went pale, and for a moment, he just stared at me like he couldn't believe the words coming out of my mouth. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. "I'm so sorry," I said, my voice breaking. "I'm sorry for everything. I didn't know how to stop it. It just felt... I don't know. It felt like I needed it, John. I needed to feel something else, something more than what I was feeling at home." He shook his head, visibly struggling to hold it together. "So, that's it? You were just looking for excitement. For someone to make you feel special." His voice cracked, and I could see the hurt in his eyes. "What about me? What about our family? Claire, I love you," I said, desperate to make him understand. "I do. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know what to do anymore. It just... shh. I don't know." He stood up abruptly, pacing across the room. "No. You don't get to say you love me and then do this. You don't get to pretend this is okay. You've been lying to me for months, Claire. Months. And now I'm supposed to just forgive you?" I couldn't answer. There was nothing I could say that would make this better. No amount of apologies could fix what I had done. I knew I'd broken something deep inside of him, something that might never heal. But part of me, the selfish part, was still trying to find a way out. "Do you love him?" he asked, the question coming out flat, like he was bracing for an answer he didn't want to hear. I hesitated. I wasn't sure how to answer. I don't know, I finally said, my voice small. Maybe I do. But it's not about that. It's not about love. It's about something I've lost in myself. And I didn't know how to get it back without him. John stared at me for a moment, and in that moment, I could see all the love he had for me, all the years we'd spent together, just disappear. And it hit me all at once. There was no going back. I had ruined everything. We're done, he said softly, his voice distant. I can't do this anymore, Claire. I can't live with someone who doesn't love me the way I love her. I'm done. I wanted to cry. I wanted to beg him to stay, to forgive me, to somehow make it all better, but I knew it was too late. He was already walking out of the room, and I could hear the door slam shut behind him. That was it. Everything I'd built, everything I'd tried to hold on to, it was gone. And that's when I realized how truly alone I was. It's funny how quickly everything can change. One moment, you're trying to hold on to your life as you know it, and the next, you're standing in the wreckage, wondering how it all fell apart. The worst part? I couldn't even blame anyone but myself. I had no excuses left. No justifications. John moved out. The first few days were a blur. I remember sitting in the empty house, the silence so loud it was deafening. I should have felt relief. After all, wasn't this what I wanted? To live my life without hiding, to be with Mark. But instead, all I felt was emptiness, guilt, regret, and loneliness in a way I never imagined. Mark tried to reach out, of course. He was all too eager to be there for me, to make sure I was okay. And that's the part that really messed with my head. I thought it would be a relief, having someone who wanted me, who cared about me, someone who didn't hold me accountable for what had happened. But it wasn't. It felt more like I was replacing one lie with another. It took a week for John to call me. I thought he might want to talk about the kids, about how we'd handle things moving forward. But no. He didn't want to talk about logistics. He didn't even want to talk about the kids at first. He wanted to talk about us. And he was surprisingly calm. Are you happy? He asked me. His voice sounded so detached. It almost scared me, like he was looking at me as if I were a stranger. I didn't know how to answer. Part of me wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell him that everything with Mark was fine, that things were moving forward, that this was the start of something new, something better. But I couldn't. Because in my heart, I wasn't happy. Not in the way I thought I would be. It wasn't just about having someone who gave me attention or excitement. It was about losing something important, and I didn't even realize how much until it was too late. I don't know, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't think I was happy before. But now I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want. John was quiet for a long time. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line, like he was trying to figure me out, trying to piece together the woman he thought he knew. Then he spoke, his voice hard but controlled. Do you love him, Claire? It was the question I'd been dreading. Because the truth was, I didn't know. I didn't know if I loved Mark, if I loved John, or if I even knew what love was anymore. I had a deep affection for Mark, but love? No, I couldn't say that. Not yet. I don't know, I repeated. I really don't. I needed something, and I thought that was it. John was quiet again. I could hear him shifting in his seat, probably staring at the floor, trying to make sense of everything. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, almost like he was talking to himself. You're not the woman I married anymore, Claire, and maybe that's the hardest part of this for me to accept. I thought I knew who you were. I thought you were someone who cared about me, who wanted this family. But now I see that I was wrong. You've been lying to me for so long, you don't even know who you are anymore. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd known what I was doing to him, but hearing him say it out loud, in such a calm way, made the reality of my actions sink in. And suddenly, the fantasy of my relationship with Mark seemed so insignificant. How could I have been so blind? I had been living in this bubble, thinking I was in control, when in fact, I was just running away from myself. I'm sorry, John, I said, my voice shaking. I'm so sorry for everything. But I knew it wasn't enough. He wasn't going to forgive me. Not the way I wanted. He wasn't going to magically forget the hurt, the betrayal. And honestly, I didn't expect him to. How could he? The conversation ended quickly after that. We agreed to talk later about the logistics of the kids and splitting up our belongings. But I knew, deep down, it was over. There was no going back from this. I had shattered something in him that couldn't be fixed. That night, Mark called again. I was tempted to pick up, but I didn't. I didn't know what I could say to him anymore. I didn't want to hear his comforting words, his promises to help me through this. I didn't need another person telling me what I wanted to hear. I needed to face the truth, about John, about myself, about everything. I ignored his calls, his texts, and I let the silence drag on. But as the days went by, I started to feel the weight of my choices more and more. The reality was that I had lost John, the man I had been with for over 7 years. I had lost the life we had built together. And I had done it all in the name of something. Something that now felt meaningless. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. But I knew one thing: I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep running away from the truth. And I had to face it, no matter how much it hurt. But the hardest part was realizing that, in the end, it wasn't just my marriage I was throwing away. It was a piece of myself. Because, as I look back at everything, I couldn't help but wonder. What happened to the woman who used to believe in love? The woman who believed in family? The woman who had dreams of a different kind of life? I didn't know who she was anymore, and maybe I never would. Time has a strange way of distorting everything, doesn't it? You think you know who you are until everything you've built gets pulled out from under you. And when that happens, when your reality shatters, you start questioning everything. Who am I? What do I want? How did I get here? I've asked myself these questions over and over since the day I lost John. And in a lot of ways, I still don't have the answers. It's been a few weeks since that phone call, since John moved out. I haven't seen him in person since that night, but I've had to deal with the aftermath of our broken marriage every day. We've split the kids for now, and honestly, I don't know how we're gonna make this work. Everything feels like a fog. I go through the motions of being a mother, of pretending that everything's okay, but I can't escape the weight of what I've done. I've lost my family. I've lost John. And I'm not sure I can ever get that back. Mark is still calling me, still trying to check in. But every time I pick up the phone, I hear his voice, and it feels like the same old lie. I'm tired of pretending, tired of the empty promises, tired of trying to fill a hole inside me that can never be filled by anyone but myself. I've started pulling away from him too. I can't be with him. Not like I thought I could. I can't just replace one mistake with another. It's funny, but when John left, I thought I'd feel free. I thought that finally, I could breathe. But all I feel is trapped. Trapped in my own guilt. Trapped in my own choices. And when I look at Mark now, I don't see the excitement I once saw. I see a distraction. A way to keep running from the truth. But the truth is unavoidable. I remember the last time Mark and I had dinner together. Just the two of us, like it used to be. It was after John had left, and I thought it might help to reconnect. To feel something, anything that didn't involve pain. But when we sat down at that table, it felt so empty. It wasn't the same. He wasn't the person I needed him to be. He was just a reminder of the mess I had made. "You okay?" he asked, his usual grin plastered on his face. But there was a nervousness to him, like he could sense that something had changed. "I'm fine," I lied, staring down at my plate. "Just adjusting, you know." Mark didn't seem convinced. He reached across the table, touching my hand gently. "You don't have to do this alone, Claire. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." I pulled my hand back, a little too quickly. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate his concern, I did. But at that moment, all I could think about was how I had just ruined everything. How I destroyed my family, my life, and for what? For a temporary thrill. For someone to make me feel important when I didn't even know how to feel about myself anymore. "I don't think I can do this anymore," I said softly. My voice didn't even sound like my own. "What do you mean?" Mark looked at me, confused. "I mean, I can't keep pretending. I can't keep running away from the mess I made. I need to figure things out on my own." He looked at me for a long time, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw a flicker of hurt in his eyes. "So that's it?" he asked quietly. "After everything we've been through, you're just gonna walk away?" "I'm not walking away," I said, my voice shaking. I need to figure out who I am. I need to fix what I've broken. I've made so many mistakes, and I'm not sure I can fix them with you. Or with anyone." Mark didn't argue. He didn't try to convince me to stay. He just sat there, looking at me with a kind of resignation I hadn't expected. And that's when I realized something. Mark had been a part of my escape. He had been a distraction, a way for me to avoid facing the reality of what I'd done. But now, I knew I had to face it. I had to face myself. He didn't say anything more. He just nodded and stood up, walking away quietly. And as I sat there alone, I realized that I had just lost him too. But this time, I didn't feel the same sense of loss I had before. Instead, I felt a strange kind of clarity. It wasn't freedom, not exactly, but it was a start. I called John the next day. The conversation was difficult. The first few minutes were awkward. So much space had grown between us in such a short time. But eventually, we started talking about the kids, about how we would handle the upcoming holidays, and then we talked about us. It was raw, but it felt honest. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was hiding. I know I messed up, I said, my voice breaking. And I don't know if we can ever fix this. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. John didn't immediately forgive me. I didn't expect him to. But there was something in his voice. Something soft. Something that made me believe maybe we could talk again. Maybe we could find some way to co-parent, to rebuild what was broken, even if it was never going to be the same. I'm not sure what's next, John said quietly. But I can't pretend everything's fine. It's going to take time, Claire. It's going to take a lot of time. I understood that. I didn't expect a quick fix. I just wanted to start the process. I wanted to try to make things right, if that was even possible. The truth is, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repair the damage I've done to John, to our family. I don't know if Mark will ever be a part of my life again. But I do know this: I can't keep running from the truth anymore. I can't keep hiding in someone else's arms, hoping it will all just go away. So now, here I am. Trying to rebuild, trying to figure out who I am in this mess I've created. Maybe I'll find myself again. Maybe I'll learn from all of this. But right now, I'm taking it one day at a time. And maybe that's all I can do.